بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back, my dear student, in today's English lesson. What are we going to do in this lesson? Let's take a look. So we are still in Unit 4. Today's lesson is going to be about the project. We are going to apply everything we took in this lesson in this project. But before we go and take a look at the project, let's take a look at the previous homework. What were you asked to do and what did you do about it? So you were asked to list activities you do in your free time, then write a paragraph about how often do you do these activities. You have to use frequency expressions. Do you remember the frequency expressions like usually, often, and adverbs of frequency? So this is the chart, and here I divide the chart into 3 parts. Things you do on weekends, things you do in weekdays, and things you do in vacations. So what did I write here? So in the weekends, what do? I watch TV and I visit my friends. I did list 2 of the activities I do on the weekend. How about the weekdays? What do you do during the week? I do homework and I study. Well, how about vacations? So in my vacations, what do? I paint pictures and I write stories. These are some of the things I do. What did you write in your chart? So what are we going to do now? After listing all of these activities, we are going to gather this information to write a paragraph about it. So here's what I did. So I want you to list the activities. You're going to write activities and you're going to try to use the frequency expressions. Now, let's see here. I wrote this. Usually on weekends, I like watching TV and I like visiting my friends. On weekdays, I have school. I usually do my homework and study. I often paint and write stories during vacations. It's my favorite pastime. So this is what I wrote here. Now, let's take a look. What are some of the things that we learned in this unit and we did apply here? So the first thing, using the frequency expressions. Let's check. Did I do it? Well, I used the word usually, so check. We did that. Now, how about the next part, listing activities? So we did use the activities we wrote in the chart about visiting my friends, watching TVs, and I wrote here the last sentence here. I often paint and write stories during vacations. It's my favorite pastime. So we also talked about pastime, right? So during this unit, we saw some hobbies and pastime activities. Some people like, some people don't, right? So here, writing stories, it's my favorite. But do you remember the hobby, the unusual hobby of our friend in the unit? It was flying air models, right? It's called air modeling. Now, where are we in this unit and what are we going to do? Let's check. We're done with listening and discussing, pair work, the grammar, listening, reading, all of these things up to the project. So in this lesson, we are applying the things we learned here. So what is the objective of today's lesson? By the end of this lesson, you will be able to write about unusual hobby. So how about when you think about unusual hobby, what are some of the things that you think about? So it's a hobby and you don't hear this hobby very often, right? Now, let's take a look. So the project, let's see here, research unusual hobby or pastime and present it to the class. So here we are going to fill this chart. Do you remember the chart from the last lesson? We are going to fill the chart with information about the unusual hobby. You research about it or heard about it. So one of my friends told me about this hobby. At first, I thought it's strange, but when I researched about it, actually it looks like it's a fun hobby. So hear what my friend told me about this hobby. So what's your hobby? It's growing trees. It's not like planting, no, your normal planting. It's just growing a certain type of trees. So this is the hobby. So what equipment do you need? You will need seeds, farming tools, and pots to plant these seeds. How often or how long do you do it? Here in the chart we have 2 times a week or twice a week. Where do you do it? In the backyard of my house. This is what my friend told me. And who do you do it with? In the chart here we have with my uncle. Now the last part, why do you like it? I like watching trees grow. This is the reason. So every time my friend is checking the tree and see how much did this tree grow. So what are we going to do with this information? We are going to put it in a text and put this information together, and we are going to write a paragraph about it. So let's take a look at the paragraph here, that paragraph about the unusual hobby. So what do you see in this picture? So it looks like someone is planting these trees. So when planting trees, so you will start with the seed, and this seed is going to grow and grow until it becomes a big tree. So let's take a look here. Growing trees is my unusual hobby. My friends think that it's a strange hobby, but I think it's fun. All you need are seeds, farming tools, and pots to grow the seeds inside. I like doing it twice a week with my uncle. We grow trees in the backyard of my house. I like watching trees slowly growing into big and fruitful trees. So this is what my friend wrote here for this project. Now let's take a look here. So what do you see here? The first part, growing trees is my unusual hobby. So what do we call this? Growing, growing. It is a verb and ing, but what do we call it? Gerund. It's in the place of a subject. Growing trees, this is the subject, is my unusual hobby. So did my friend apply this rule here? Yes, she did. So, and she wrote here, I like doing it twice a week. Twice a week. So how often does she do it? That was the question in this unit. Twice a week. This is the answer. I like doing it twice a week. So what do you see here with the word doing? It's the word do plus ing. I like doing it twice a week. Now, how about this one? I like watching trees growing. Watching trees slowly growing into big and fruitful tree. So, what do we call this? This is the reason for this hobby, right? So my friend likes this hobby because of this. She's checking on her tree every day, but she does this hobby twice a week. She's planting with her uncle twice a week, but she's checking on the tree every day. Now, let's take a look. So we talked about gerund in this unit. We can see gerunds as a subject or a noun, as an object, or with infinitives, like to cook, to clean, or to play. Now, let's take a look at this example here, and we are going to take a look at examples for this. So I want you to think about it. Can you think about a gerund as a subject or a noun? So it was in the text. Where is it? Here. Growing trees is my unusual hobby. See? Here, it's in the place of a subject. How about an object? I like growing trees. Growing here as if it's an object. And what else with infinitive? I like to plant the tree. So now, let's take a look at this. Complete the questions and answers. Use how often and these frequency expressions. What are some of the frequency expressions? Like this. Every day, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. All of these are frequency expressions. Now let's take a look at the chart here. we have the days of the week, Sunday, Monday, up until Saturday. And what are the activities listed here in the chart? We have speak English, play football, visit relatives, read the Quran, clean my room. So we are going to answer questions or fill a conversation between two boys, Ibrahim and Ali. So these are the activities that here you can see a check under the activity they are next to the activity they're doing and in which day of the week. So for example, let's check at clean my room. How often do they do that? So clean my room, we don't see it here on Sunday, not here on Monday, so I can see the check on Friday here. So how many times a week? Check. We have only one check, so once a week. So how about read the Quran? Let's check here, read the Quran. We have check on Sunday, Monday, until Saturday. So how often do they read Quran? They read Quran daily or every day. Well, how about visit relatives? Let's check here at visit relatives. How many checks can you see here during this week? We have 2 checks. So how often do they do that? So it's twice a week because we only have 2 checks. How about speak English and play football? Both of them are the same, right? So here we have check in every day. So how often do they do that? How often do they do that? They do it daily or every day. Now that we have these information here about the activities that Ali is doing during the week, let's answer the conversation and fill this conversation between Ibrahim and Ali. So let's take a look at the first question. How often do you read the Holy Quran? So the answer from Ali, he said, I read the Holy Quran. How often does he do that? He reads Quran every day. This is the answer for this question. Now, let's take a look at the next part here. So here we have a question because we have a question mark. So what would be the answer for this? How is the question going to look like? Here we have the answer. The answer for this question is I speak English something. So the question is going to be, how often do you speak English? How often do you speak English? Now, the answer here, I speak English from the chart. How many times? Every day. I speak English every day. In the chart, there's a check under each day of the week. Now, let's take a look at the next part here from Ibrahim. Ibrahim asked a question. So, what could this question be about? Let's see the answer here. I visit relatives something here. So, the question is going to be what? We're going to use how often, and we're going to use these frequency expressions. So, the question is going to be, how often do you visit your relatives? How often do you visit your relatives? So, what is the answer? How many checks did we see in the chart? So, Ali is going to say, I visit relatives twice a week. Twice a week. Now, let's take a look at the next part. Ibrahim said, something here, do you play football? So, here in the question, from our question, we're going to say, how often? How often do you play football? So, how often does he play football? From the chart, let's take a look. So here Ali said, I play football, how many times? Every day. There's a check under each day of the week. Ali is playing football every day. So the question, how often do you do it? Every day. Now, Ibrahim said something. He asked a question. So Ali answered, I clean my room. How many checks did we see in the chart for cleaning the room? So the question is, how often do you clean your room? The answer is, I clean my room once a week. We saw only one check. Now, what did we do in this lesson, in today's lesson? we wrote about an unusual hobby. What was the unusual hobby? It was growing trees. Now, do you have the same answer? So I want you to think about an unusual hobby, try to fill the chart, and write a text about it, write a paragraph. But remember, try to use frequency expressions and try to use gerunds. Now, what are you going to do for your homework? In page 104, there is a text, a reading text. I want you to read this reading text and try to answer these questions. But the answer is going to be true or false. The text is going to be about Fahad and his friends. So when you're reading this, while you're reading the text, now check if there's some of the things we studied in this unit. Check for frequency expressions, check for gerunds, and check if there's an unusual hobby in the text. But don't forget to answer these questions. Let's read it together. The first question, Fahad goes to school 5 times a week. And the next the second one, Fahad works out twice a week. The third one, Fahad and his friends seldom eat lunch in the food court when they're at the mall. So here we have frequency expressions. What do we call this? Frequency, it's an adverb. So seldom, what's the meaning of seldom? Rarely. So the next one, Qasim often sends Fahad emails. Is it true or false? The last one here, Fahad never hangs out with Qasim. So is it true or false? I want you to read the text, check for grammars, and check for the unusual hobby, and try to answer these questions with true or false. And we are going to check the answers together in the next lesson. Thank you very much, my dear students, and I will see you in the next lesson.